Good evening. Today we received the sad news that Pope Francis passed away at the age of 88. The Vatican revealed he died of a stroke and heart failure. Now, this plunged the Catholic world into mourning. We can show you scenes from Argentina, which is the Pope's home country. There are also similar scenes in places like Cologne, right across Italy, as one would imagine, and in Gaza as well, actually, where there is a sizable Christian community. Our Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, issued a statement saying what a great man the Pope was, which makes a change from when one of the last popes died. And Mastermind himself tweeted this when the BBC was on black or white smoke watch as the conclave decided who the next pope would be. He said, "This tweet from the BBC is crass and unnecessary. Do we really need silly innuendo about the race of the next pope?" Oh, good. That's our Foreign Secretary, ladies and gentlemen. Brilliant. And, of course, the pro-Palestine brigade demonstrated their ability to make absolutely every single thing about them. People like failed politician Humza Yousaf saying, quotes, "a fearless humanitarian who, during his last public appearance, appealed for peace and a ceasefire in Gaza." Well, there we go. There is not an event that people like Mr. Yousaf won't make about Gaza, is there? But on the idea of the next pope, I think it's going to be fascinating to see which way the Catholic Church goes. Now, here is a list of some of the rumoured top candidates for the next pope. Some of them are very liberal, they're very pro-gay rights, very pro-women in the church, more or less pro-open borders. Others are much more hard-line, like the Hungarian Cardinal Peter Erdo, who is apparently against refugee acceptance and takes a much more conservative approach. Now, this got me thinking about something very important that appears to be happening in Britain right now. I think Britain is experiencing a Christian revival. Thousands of people were pointing this out online, like GB News regulars Emma Trimble and Aaron Bastani and Tim Stanley of The Telegraph, as they attended various different services over the Easter weekend. I mean, the facts bear this out as well. The number of people reporting monthly attendance at churches has risen from 8% in 2018 to 12% in 2024. But the most remarkable jump in reported church attendance has been amongst Generation Z. So it's the younger people, really, quadrupling from 4% to 16% of 18 to 24-year-olds. Now, there's been an even more dramatic shift for young men specifically, a five-fold growth from 4 to 21%. We've seen record adult baptisms in France and a surge in adult baptisms right here in the UK. Now, I think I might know why this is. I think that former Archbishop Justin Welby finally doing us all a favour and doing one has played a part when it comes to Christianity as a whole. People didn't want the Anglican Church in Britain led by an open border, net zero obsessed, hard left, faux intellectual fanatic. Now, I think people, especially young men, are rejecting woke. I also think that many people in Britain have reached a tipping point when it comes to multiculturalism, diversity and immigration, both legal and illegal. Now, at the last census, 46% of people identified as being Christian, 38% said they had no religion, 6% identified as Muslim, 2% identified as Hindu, and around 2% identified as being Buddhist, Sikh, Jewish or of another religion. Now, of those 38% who said they had no religion, now I suspect that many of them come from what you might describe as a Christian background. Now, it's just my feeling. For far too long, I think a lot of very well-meaning, lovely liberal people were too complacent in Britain. They didn't feel the need to preserve our culture, our Christian culture. And now they look around and, shock horror, they don't recognise the local area. They don't like the rising crime. They don't like their women and daughters not feeling safe. They don't like the direction of travel in this country. And the fact is, going to church, turning up, being present is a show of strength and force. And I think we are seeing a surge in church numbers, in Christianity and in baptisms, not just because people want to find God in difficult and uncertain times, which I think, by the way, is a big part of it, but because people, frankly, want their country back.
Us blokes hate talking about a little thinning up top, and many of us settle with that balding look, but that wasn't for me, and that's why I went to Elite Hair, the world's leading hair loss clinic, and now I've had over 4,000 new hairs added to this barnet, and very soon I'm going to be rocking some brand new flowing locks. And you can too! So how does it work? Step 1, I sent the team a set of photos of my head. Step 2, I then spoke to one of the Elite Hair staff who looked through my photo submissions and worked out a treatment plan for me. Step 3, Elite Hair then organised accommodation and the treatment. I was at their state-of-the-art treatment centre in Istanbul, and their incredibly kind staff took me through the process, and before I knew it, I was in surgery. Elite Hair and their leading medical experts have specialised in pain-free treatments using the Sleep Deep method, and they really mean that. I felt incredibly relaxed the whole time, and I haven't felt any pain since. Check out Elite Hair using the link in the description. When you do, Elite Hair will provide you with a free personalised hair analysis. Then you'll join over 100,000 happy patients. Hit that link and start your hair growth journey like I did today.
Let's get thoughts on my panel this evening. Like I said, we have got former Tory party chairman Sir Jake Berry, we've got journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, and the former Tory MP Anna Firth. I work my way down. Jake, I'll start with you on this. Do you think that we are seeing a Christian revival in Britain based around people, frankly, well, wanting to reclaim their country in a way?
Well, I certainly hope so. I thought they were very encouraging, particularly the figures around young people attending church. Now, I think I can get away with saying this just a day after Easter Sunday. You know, Jesus Christ is the most inspirational person in the world for me. I'm a Christian, I'm a committed Christian. And, you know, I think people are looking at religion, the feeling of going to church, feeling part of a community, you know, feeling part of a group of individuals that have a shared common set of values. And I think that's something that they want and yearn for in their life. And that's why I think we're seeing numbers going up, particularly with young people. And I hope that we continue to see that. Religion isn't for everyone. I wouldn't force it down anyone's throat. But I think that feeling of togetherness, that feeling of society and British society is something people are seeking.
Yeah, Anna, I do think we are seeing a bit of a pushback. I think people have kind of maybe just had enough, really, here in Britain and want to reclaim some kind of Christian culture.
Well, I'd love to believe that's absolutely the case, and I totally agree. I'm a Christian myself. I totally agree that the more we espouse Christian values, I mean, I think Christianity is a fantastic force for good, but whether these figures, I'd love to know the source of these figures, because one of the things I've been railing against, actually, is the way this government, this Labour government, has changed the rules around VAT, which is a really big problem for churches when they need to spend on repairing themselves. And one of the things that churches have said is, with declining rolls has come declining donations. So I'm not 100% sure that I believe these figures. I would love to believe them, though. I think it would be a fantastic thing. Has happened in the past. In 1904, there was the big Welsh revival. 130,000 people suddenly signed up to the church. It caused a massive problem in the pits, because the pit ponies didn't respond because the swearing had stopped, and there were all sorts of interesting things that happened. That actually spread throughout the world, so it has happened. Let's hope it is happening.
Well, Benjamin, I know that you don't always speak very fondly of people of a certain age. There seems to be a demographic of people that you despise, actually. But
well, no, I think the question is there a demographic of people you like, Ben? That's what.
But I do.
Former Tory MPs.
But one of the things I will say is that I do think that there is a case to be said for quite a large cohort of people who are maybe 50 plus in Britain, who were very complacent about Britain and British culture and Britain's way of life, and thought that they were doing, for want of a better phrase, the Lord's work by being all open and inclusive, etc. And actually now are waking up to the reality that they don't really like what they see. And I think that maybe now the younger generation, as those figures would bear out anyway, Generation Z as they're called, are actually coming to Christianity.
I mean, I was raised by my grandparents, and they were atheists, and that was because they went to schools where nuns were really rather unpleasant in day-to-day life. And I think actually quite a lot of people of that generation describe some of those religious schools as not being very nice places a few generations ago. And I wonder whether that's part of why there was such a decline in belief. But, you know, I was listening to your figures thinking, well, they sound rather more dramatic than I would have imagined. But then, you know, most of my friends, the majority of them are gay men, and most most of them are churchgoers and Christians.
Yeah.
And indeed, quite a few of them are people that I've been to their baptisms, it's been in recent years. They weren't raised in those families. So, that would suggest there is some kind of trend. For me, I go to those because, the church has free wine, and frankly, I'll turn to any organisation with free wine. I would I would love to. Well,
you're allowed a sip.
Yeah, you should go to Reverend Marcus Walker's. But I would say that I would love to be a Christian, because what I see in those friends is that sense of community and that sense of clarity really has helped them. But I simply don't believe in God.
Well, that's fair. Look, that is fair enough. I'm not here to Bible bash. But one thing I will say, Jay, is that I do think people are thinking now, if they are looking at illegal immigration figures, massive immigration figures, rapid cultural and demographic change in Britain, I think a lot of people feel as though they only have a right to be able to talk about those things a lot of the time if they are almost putting their money where their mouth is and going to church a bit more.
I think that's right, Patrick, but of course it's in some churches. So actually, if you visit lots of churches, as I've done, and Anna will have done as a Member of Parliament, but actually I just do it now for fun rather than because I have to, you will see that it's the evangelical Christian churches, particularly in the Anglican community, that are growing most quickly, and they adhere most strictly to Scripture. They are sort of a right of centre. They wouldn't describe themselves, but they really are a right of centre movement. And sort of going around churches around London as I do now, what I find amazing is these churches, most of them completely empty. They have completely left-wing vicars lecturing you on sort of homelessness and refugees and things, and they're just wrong about most things. They're actually factually incorrect. And I think it may be time for the congregation to be given the right of reply to the sermon, so they can say, no, you're wrong about that. Actually, we should have this.
I went to an Anglican. I am a Catholic, really, but I'll just say I'm happy to go to any Christian church, to be honest with you. But I went to an Anglican service up where I used to live near Maidenhead, and the local vicar had clearly been to the local Margaret Hotel and stacked the back of the church with at least 30 or 40 people there. Now, OK, absolutely, some of them may well have been Iranian Christians or whatever, don't get me wrong. But I think it was pretty obvious to every single person in that church that was not the case. And it was exactly the time when it was all blowing up about the fact that if you wanted to help your asylum case, you could say that you were a Christian and that you could therefore stay in Britain. And I think that was massive. I thought that was absolutely disrespectful to a lot of people there who were genuinely practising Christians, because we could all see what was going on. And it made it seem as though maybe that particular denomination of the church had got it wrong.
No, I think you're absolutely right, Patrick. And I think the previous Archbishop of Canterbury got things completely wrong. Who would ever have thought that during COVID the churches would close? In a way, maybe part of this revival, if it is really happening, is a response to the fact that during COVID, of course, we couldn't actually even go to church, and the churches, and let's not even talk about Wet Welby. What a disgrace he actually was, but. My children, one of my children is now starting to go to church, and she's going to an Alpha course. Now, that's something which I did when I was young, and it is a great way for young people to get into the church because it's welcoming, it's about community, and it's about values.
OK. Well, we don't have to knock this on the head now, but obviously I would imagine that at 10:30 when we do the papers, the Pope is going to be all over the front pages, so we can have more of a discussion, I think, about where the church goes from here, what direction of travel they might want to go in, whether or not they go more conservative, whether or not they go, I suppose you would say, more left-leaning, more liberal in a sense as well. But I'm really keen to see if you can get in touch on the Your Says, so gbnews.com/Your Say, about what you experienced over the Easter weekend. Do you feel as though there's a bit of a Christian revival? Hey, maybe you completely disagree with me. Maybe you want to point out that a lot of the increasing numbers in Christianity in Britain might be from people like, say, Eastern European immigrants. It might be from African immigrants. I don't know. Let me know what you think if you completely disagree with me or otherwise. But, of course, it's time now for the Great British Giveaway, and it is our biggest prize to date.
We're making the Great British Giveaway a getaway with a chance to win our biggest prize to date. You could be the proud owner of this Elneg Baron 560 motorhome, worth over £67,000. Supplied brand new from Marquis Leisure, you could be exploring Great Britain and beyond this summer and making memories to last a lifetime. This motorhome comfortably sleeps 4, has its own kitchen and bathroom spaces, and comes complete with all of the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle of this calibre. And that's not all, as we'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash so you can get started on your next adventure as soon as possible. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over.